Helping Seniors Television, all about improving quality of life for seniors. If you're a senior, know a senior, or plan to be a senior, then this show is for you. It's all about helping you develop your own aging plan so you can age actively and with dignity. Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network of information, education, and resources. Welcome to today's edition of Helping Seniors Television from the Helping Seniors Network. Whether you are caring for a senior, are a senior, or just plan to be one, we hope you'll enjoy today's program.
The Senior Information Helpline at 321-473-7770 receives hundreds of calls from seniors looking for ways to cut the cost of prescription drugs. One good idea can be by saving on regular medicines through organizations such as Canadian Meds of Melbourne. Join Helping Seniors TV program host and longtime senior advocate Joe Steckler as he talks with Joe Pons, director of Canadian Meds of Melbourne, about how to get prescription drugs at the best prices.
Our show today, folks, is about cost savings on prescription drugs. And the vehicle that does that in Melbourne, Florida is Canadian Meds of Melbourne. And I have here with me in the studio Joe Pons, who is one of the owners of Canadian Meds. And welcome, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
It's always a pleasure to have you here. And I always learn so much before you and I go on the air. I learn so much more about the changes since the last time I've talked to you. And it's been driven home more to me because as a senior citizen, and with some of the ailments that I have, I get my medicines. I'm very fortunate. I happen to be retired military, so I get my prescriptions all through the military pharmacy, and I don't have to pay for them. But I looked at the breakout I get from Script Jugs out of Colorado, which serves the military across the world, and they give us a cost on that medicine every month. And I figured out that if I had to purchase those drugs myself, I would be spending in excess of $10,000 a year on prescription drugs. And what you tell me sometimes before our shows scares me because we don't like to think about people breaking pills. I like to think even less about people skipping their drugs because they can't afford them. And whatever prompted you to get into well, first of all, what is Canadian Meds of Melbourne? We get people that'll see these different segments of the shows and they'll not understand what it is, but just describe for our viewers what Canadian Meds of Melbourne is.
Okay. We're an American-owned, veteran-owned pharmacy service. The difference between a pharmacy service and a pharmacy is that the pharmacists are in Canada. So we don't maintain any drugs at our office. What that allows us to do is to purchase the medicine on behalf of our patients and clients from the medicine manufacturers and the big distributors, and have it sent by mail to wherever our clients are, whether they're here in Brevard County, in Melbourne, or if they're snowbirds, wherever they live up north, wherever they are within the continental United States and Puerto Rico, we have it sent to them directly. And that's the difference.
I'm wondering if anybody ever asked you this question. It's not on the script. I get it. You always trigger something. Something is not on the script. Is it possible for people that live in Canada to buy their medicines through you and get them cheaper than they would if they had to buy them in Canada?
Only if they have a U.S. address.
Pardon?
Only if they have a U.S. address.
Only if they have a
U.S. address. They have to be here in order to purchase medicines from us.
Okay. All right. So
Yes.
That's how they do that then.
Yes.
How do you ensure that the medications that you offer on your formulary are in fact the lowest cost that people can buy? How do you do that?
What I do is I use a couple different sources, but most recently, I found a website called goodrx.com. It is the most competitive and most comprehensive website that I have been able to find. Absolutely non-biased, and it will find every medication that we carry, name brand. Unfortunately, it doesn't carry the generic products that we have available outside the country, but it has discounts that are not available anywhere else, that are available to anyone here in the United States. Absolutely invaluable. They have pricing that I haven't seen anywhere else, Joe. And quite frankly, if anyone wants to save money, check with us first.
Well,
And if we can't be beat, the next best place is goodrx.com. I'll tell you that right now.
well, I'm just thinking about it, Joe, and we try to put estate planning in place. We try to put a medical plan in place. We try to put a cost of living plan in place. We try to save our finances. We worry about our 401ks. We do all this stuff, but we never, on any of these fingers, talk about how we can save money on prescription drugs. It would seem to me that more people should come to you earlier to find out about the service so that they can start making a plan as to how they might use that themselves or have family members or friends use this. Because one of the questions I wanted to ask Joe to explain today, folks, is a little bit more about this thing called a donut hole and why it's so important to plan. So maybe we could just get into that now, and
Sure.
You could explain the donut hole and how, by good planning, we can reap the benefits, if you want to call it that, off the donut hole.
Sure. Simply put, most people are familiar with the way that a deductible works. With the donut hole, and the reason why it's called that is the deductible is moved from paying it first into basically the middle. So you have your benefits, the deductible, and then the benefits pick back up.
Right.
So it represents sort of a donut. The problem with this is that the savings that occur are used through the expensive medications relatively quickly. Since the individual has to spend their money out of pocket anyway, what we suggest is that they spend their money wisely by pricing out their medications early as possible, ideally when their benefits start.
Okay.
What we want to do is we want to spend their money on the drugs that we can save the most money on. Most people who don't know about us will lose their benefits, generally speaking, anywhere between March, depending on their medications, which is very, very early.
And it starts in January.
And it starts in January.
Yeah.
Or if they're relatively average, anywhere between August and October. At any rate, quite frequently what I see is that people stop buying their medication when their benefits run out. That 3, 4, 5 month period, sadly, 9 month period, where people have life essential medications,
Okay.
where they're not purchasing these medications, is what we're trying to stop.
So what you're saying is if you help them purchase their most expensive drugs, then they can it will prevent them from getting into the donut hole quicker.
Correct. We want to extend that benefit period as long as humanly possible into the year. Maybe we can't prevent it from running out, but we will extend it as far as possible. So those who are in March, where they run out, if we can move it into June, we've got an extra 3 months of
We
benefits.
save 2 or 3 months, yeah.
Exactly. If we can get people all the way through the year, guess what? We've saved them lots and lots of trouble and time, not to mention money, because their benefits have gone all the way through the year.
Well, what you're doing is you're using their benefit to purchase you're using your drugs to purchase the most expensive prescription drugs at a cost savings, which
Yes.
allows them to have more money to purchase their other drugs for a longer period of time.
Exactly.
So, but do you think people really understand this? I have asked so many questions about it, and things like this take a long time to sink in. I think a lot of people are afraid to say, "I don't understand it." They simply are afraid to say that because they don't want to appear stupid. It's just like in school. You didn't want to ask a question, but you didn't understand it, but you want to hold your hand up because you want somebody else to take care of klutz.
Right. And that's unfortunate, but that's simply the way it's human nature. What I find, and it goes along with dealing with medicine in general, is that everybody thinks that they're alone in this. But the fact of the matter is that you're not, we're not, we're all in the same boat together. There's so many of us who are paying too much for our medication. We think that we're singular, and because we don't talk about it with our friends and family, we think that we're alone, one, in paying too much, and two, that we're the only one who doesn't understand exactly how it works.
But off the top of your head, and this is a tough thing to answer, but you might know some of them. Could you mention a couple of drugs, prescription drugs, that people know more about them, but that they're very expensive, but purchased through you, there's a tremendous cost savings? I know there's one, but let's see what you come up with. You got one?
Sure. Tradenta.
Say that?
It's called Tradenta.
What's that used for?
You know what? I'm not even sure what it's used for, to be honest with you. I know that I'm getting more and more clients who are purchasing it. It is extremely expensive, particularly for those who are not insured and those who are not in the donut hole. But it is a big seller. It is moving up, and it costs roughly 80% less through us than it does anywhere else.
The one I'm thinking about is the knee injection.
Yes. Synvisc, orthopedic injection.
Right.
Our orthopedic surgeons prescribe it. The retail price through local pharmacies start for the pack of 3 syringes starts at around $3,000. Starts. Goes upwards into $4,000 to $6,000. We have it for just under $400. $400.
You're still making a profit?
Yes.
The people are saving money?
Yes, sir.
And the company that makes the drug is still making their profit?
Yes, sir.
It just is beyond my ken, Joe, why more people don't. Well, let me ask a question. In the last 2 years, have you seen an increase in people using Canadian Meds of Melbourne? Are you getting more and more people to use it?
Yes, sir. Absolutely. We have doubled our clientele over the past 24 months. It is spreading. The good and bad of it is that more and more people are saving money. The sad part of it, Joe, is that we are needed.
It's your what?
That we're needed.
Oh, okay.
I would rather sell widgets. I do have another business. I would rather do that exclusively. But the fact of the matter is that we're needed, and it doesn't look like we're going to be going away anytime soon.
What's this other business you're in? What are you?
I am an independent agent for Aflac.
For Affleck?
Yes, sir. Yes.
Would you ever like to squeeze that duck's neck?
Oh my goodness! No, I tell you what, everybody knows the duck.
I know.
I tell you what, and it doesn't matter where I go, everybody wants one. Everyone wants one of those little plush, furry little ducks. I'm telling you, Joe.
I'm not going to go into business. When I was a little boy, I used to watch the ladies in Kentucky kill ducks and chickens, and I'm not even going to go into that on this TV show. But I'll get away from that quickly.
But truthfully, I would rather do anything else than to have to save money for people on their medications. But let's face it, Joe, I don't see it getting any better. Prices still continue to go up, and more every single day, people call me with the same sad story that, like you said before, they're cutting their pills. They're taking them every other day, every third day when they feel like it. They're existing on samples from the doctor. And unfortunately, the doctor's not getting as many samples as they were before.
I've noticed that and as I go to my primary care doctor, that there are fewer free samples they're giving out to other people. I think one of the biggest unknowns that the American people do not know about is the way that the insulin market has been cornered by certain manufacturers of insulin, and that probably is the only drug that you can't help people procure, and it's probably one of the most needed of all drugs. And is there any prognosis for any kind of a solution to that, where people can? Because have you ever had an experience where people need insulin and cannot afford it?
Yes.
Yeah.
I get calls to maybe 3 or 4 a week. People call on insulin. That is their sole medicine. That is what they call about.
Well, how do they get insulin if they can't afford it?
Truthfully, Joe, I do not know. I do not know. That is what they're looking for. I try to point them to places and sources that other clients have told me about. I'm still trying to vet good places where people can purchase insulin and insulin products at a lower price. But with the epidemic of diabetes, it is a sad state of affairs when someone needs a life. I mean, this is something that people live on, and they simply can't afford that medication.
That's just something I think our organization, Helping Seniors, needs to look into, because it will help to have more forces brought to bear on the problem of developing some kind of a solution for that drug. But that does concern me. And we've done several radio shows about insulin. And if you're a diabetic, it's a condition you can't afford nor the medical treatments for. You have to.
You have to.
You have to do that. Okay. What are some of the current events that you're trying to do to help people stay out of the donut hole? What you described before, trying to get people to understand the savings cost earlier?
Absolutely.
That's the way you do that?
Yes. Through public speaking engagements, of course, friends and family, word of mouth is absolutely the best advertising. Passing on that knowledge is that we're here, regardless of what time of year, where you sit in your benefits. Every moment of every day, we're here to help.
Well, I think that since you're one of our partners in our network, that with the new emphasis we're going to have on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and the worldwide YouTube, I know that our current executive director, Kerry Fink, who is the media guy also, estimates that we're going to get close to 5.4 million hits on all our links and our social media. And that will just tremendously help make people aware of your service.
Fantastic.
Awareness and information and education is the key.
Yes, sir.
We keep hearing the words that education is knowledge and knowledge are power. Certainly it's true. If people don't know about your product, they can't use them. About how long does it take? If somebody comes to you and you work out a plan for purchasing drugs through Canadian Meds, how long would it, on the average, would it take to get the drugs back to them?
Between 2.5 to 3 weeks through our normal supply chain.
Okay.
We do have a method by which, depending on the product, we can get it as little as 2 weeks. That is directly through our Canadian network.
Well, can people say, I need a year's supply and have it shipped every three months, or do you do it? Is it an on-call thing for each order?
It's for each order, a maximum of 90 days, and that's simply because we belong to Pharmacy Checker. We voluntarily belong to an organization that basically polices our behavior. We can only get 90 days at a time. There are very specific rules that we must follow, and that's one of the rules. But there's no plan, there's no program, there's no auto renewal. But at any point in time, when a person's ready, all they have to do is contact me or one of our staff, let us know that they're ready for a refill, and we can go ahead and place an order for their next 90 days.
Okay, but about the only prescription drug that you cannot distribute through Canadian Meds would be a drug requiring signature. Is that true? Like, say, hydrocodone or...
Correct. We can't do any kind of controlled substances.
Okay. But having looked at different formularies, there are hundreds and hundreds of medications that are used, which are extremely costly. I think in terms of drugs that are used in this country a lot, Cymbalta, Lyrica, some of the other drugs that are controlled arthritic pains and things like that. But there's so much that you have to know when you get into the business of using prescription drugs. Our doctors seem to have a knack for being able to prescribe them, but they don't know as much as about taking people off of prescription drugs. And once you've been through that experience, it makes you want to ask questions. Mm-hmm. Are you familiar with what I'm talking about?
Only a little bit. The thing is that for us, the biggest thing I can only suggest is that the patient, our client, needs to be, just like you were talking about, aware and knowledgeable. It starts and ends with our client. Granted, the doctor is the healthcare professional.
Okay.
But it's the individual's health that is the most important. I'm just a tool. I help facilitate health. But when it comes right down to it, it's the client who's the most important person. So when it comes right down to it, the doctor is merely there to help.
Okay.
Management of the person's health is the patient. The doctor, like you were talking about, makes the educated guesses. Sometimes those guesses are wrong, but I'm not a medical professional, so I won't speak anymore.
No, I understand. But do you have a system in place that do you remind the people that you have as clients? Do you remind them it's time to order their prescription drugs?
We do.
Okay.
And that is up to the client. we do offer that. I will not contact a client unless they want to be contacted. So you hear people talk about how, oh, I received an email from a Canadian pharmacy. Is that you? No. Unless you specifically ask for little Joe or Joe or Canadian Meds of Melbourne to contact you, you will not receive any contact from us. We're very specific about that.
But you do have a plan. If somebody wants to be reminded it's time to reorder their drugs, that they can do that.
Yes, sir.
We're almost out of time, but what other really important thing would you, and one of the things you're talking about, I wrote it down, you're planning on moving into orthopedic type things.
Yes, sir. We have a few orthopedic surgeons who are already greatly involved in helping out as far as our patients are concerned. We talked about this Invest. The savings that are involved with that, just that particular product alone, we're talking about thousands, Joe, thousands of dollars for our clients.
I understand.
We're talking about knees, elbow, shoulders, wrists. We're talking about mobility for our clients, not just seniors. We're finding that younger and younger of our clients are coming to us with these prescriptions, and the doctors are loving it, because before they would prescribe these medications and they were unfortunately not seeing very many of these clients because of the cost factor. Now we can help.
Well, most of those prescription drugs ordered for that would be something most people would have to pay for out of their pockets, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you, Joe. We're out of time, and I want to thank you for being here. And I hope you, our viewers, have benefited from listening to Joe Ponce. If you have a question, call our office or at 473-7770, and they can put you in touch with Joe. You need to talk about your prescription drug plan. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Always a pleasure.
I'm Joe Steckler. Thank you for joining our program today. I'd like to remind you that our senior information line is available to you at 321-473-7770. There you can get help and direction that could be helpful for your specific situation or circumstances. The work of helping seniors is very important, but we can't do it alone. That is why our sponsors here in Brevard County are so important. I'd like to thank our many area sponsors, businesses and medical providers who support the mission of helping seniors that help us carry the cost of our media efforts. If you'd like to join us either as a business partner or simply donate as an individual, we would welcome your call at 321-473-7770. You are always welcome to visit our website at www.helpingseniorsofbrevard.org. Thanks so much for your help. It does make a difference.